5:39 p.m. We'll open up the Orange County Industrial Development Agency regularly scheduled meeting for June 15th, 2022. We've already, this is calling the meeting to order. We'll do roll call again.
Sure. Michael Trelli.
Present.
Dean Tamburri.
Present.
Vincent Odock.
Present.
Susan Walsky.
Present.
James Rinaldi.
Present.
And same guests, Bill Fioravanti, Kelly Riley on staff, Council, Susan Katzoff, Russ Genzel, Connor Eckert from the partnership, and a number of guests for our agenda that I can introduce as we go along.
One of the pages, proof of notice, Bill. Everything
Yes.
was noticed properly.
Again,
Correct?
yes, proof of notice is in your packet, so you
Yep.
see that was noticed properly. Finally.
Okay. We have approval of minutes for the governance committee, approval of minutes for the board of directors meeting, and approval of minutes for the accelerator committee. Do them one at a time, I guess. So approval of minutes for the May 16th governance committee. Any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Thank you, Dean. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Sue. If all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried unanimously. Approval of minutes for the May 18th Board of Directors meeting. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Thank you, Sue. I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried unanimously. And lastly, for the minutes portion of the agenda, approval of the minutes for the June 7th Accelerator Committee meeting. Entertain a motion to approve.
Yes, Vincent.
Thank you, Dr. Odock. Get a second? Motion. Thank you, Dean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carried unanimously. All right, committee meetings. At this point, we usually give a chance for the committee chairs to give a synopsis or whatever they'd like to talk about, right, at this point?
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd do a quick synopsis and have the chairs chime in as they like.
Perfect.
We had an accelerator committee meeting last week on the 7th. It was a few topics. One, we had a presentation from Tiara Oliver, who is the owner of Exisud, which is one of our accelerator clients in the Middletown facility. Tiara is looking to conduct a clinical research study in conjunction with Touro Medical College, obviously the other tenant there. And she was looking for, was it 70,000 or 75,000? 70,000, right? From the IBA, obviously she has a relationship here. So she, and she knew that we were winding down the accelerator. So she thought it could be another investment. It could create, for the research project itself, it could create some actual jobs. But otherwise, she was really looking to fund what she thought could lead to an expansion of the product line and other jobs that could be created. We did speak with council about it, and I don't know if you want to comment, but council really had deemed it being something we could not invest in, really not appropriate for the IDA under the statute.
Yes.
Right. So it's not something we can participate. I did speak to Tiara, trying to find some other ways to support her. We talked in the meeting about the consolidated funding application process through Empire State Development. If we could, I'll help her look into that, see if there's something you could do there, but not something we're able to fund. After that, we gave updates on our accelerator locations. We are almost out of New Windsor. We have our last lease expires at the end of this month for the last building at 334 Avenue of the Americas. That will be no longer. We're working with the town of New Windsor, trying to get a release on those properties, as had been requested in the accelerator committee, showing that the test, really basically asserting by the town that we left the spaces in the right condition. So we're looking to get those. Newburgh, we've kind of buttoned things up there. In Middletown, our lease is up at the end of November. So we showed that. Lastly, Warwick. We are going to continue to operate that, mostly because we don't pay anything for rent for that location. We just provide whatever support we can to the subtenants. Well, our leases for our subtenants have expired. So I did present at Accelerator Committee the leases for renewals for our 3 tenants and a new lease for 2 additional spaces for one of those tenants, Scripted Fragrance, who I've mentioned a few times, has been growing tremendously. So in Accelerator Committee asked for a few changes to the leases, including a 30-day opt-out clause like we did in Middletown with our subtenants. Sue had raised a couple security questions, security deposit, things like that. We made those changes. The county attorney's office did, I should say. So those leases were sent back to you, and we'll get to that for you to vote on later in the meeting. That's Accelerator. Dean is our chair. Dean, anything you want to add to that?
No, it's good report. Thank you.
Okay. That's Accelerator Committee. Want me to jump right into finance?
Yep, please do.
In finance, we basically reviewed financials. We had Shannon Manisi from RBT online, of course, with us, and she did confirm that RBT is pretty much done with the transition that we hired them to do additionally, where we wanted them to consolidate in QuickBooks Online, our Accelerator entity and our IDA entity. They had pretty much done that. That's going to make most of our financial reports, I will say, automatic, in that if the numbers are right in QuickBooks, you essentially hit a button and it generates a report. Right now, there's a lot of legwork done, a lot of transposing numbers by hand. Kelly does really most of that herself ever since our last CFO, we dismissed him last year, or he resigned. So she's been handling that. And so Shannon talked about the new format that we'll have of reporting, and we went through our reports just, in greater detail than we did a little while ago. We also talked about, I presented a job description for an administrative assistant position. I've talked about that for a while. It's in our approved 2022 budget, actually, to have that position since January, but we haven't quite been ready. We want to do a proper search and, like everything else, procure that properly, so we know how that comes about. The board did support that idea. I'm going to come back after we select a candidate to the board, really for approval of the expenditure, like we do with everything. So we'll say, this is what we are looking to pay. This is how many hours per week. This is what we're looking for it to be. And we get your approval at that time. So that was covered as well. I may be missing something, Jim, but anything you want to add that we covered last night?
We talked about deposits.
CDs, exactly, absolutely. So we did look at, unfortunately, I Sue, you're probably the only one that you didn't get to hear this, but there was actually a problem with one of the decisions, the selections you made, I'll say, for a CD, where there are two Berkshire banks, one Massachusetts based and one New York State based, and the rates that we chose were for Massachusetts. Unless we went there, or at least to Hudson, New York, we couldn't do it. Plus the rates had already changed. So we updated the matrix. We talked about that again in detail. And then I had a lead, and I spoke to Middletown, First Federal of Middletown, and they're looking to give us even more aggressive rates. I didn't get an email yet, but I'm expecting that from Maggie Smith there, but as high as for 12 months, 1%, 30 months, 1.5%, and 42 months, 1.75%. This kind of came in late, but it was recommended. I speak to them, and I did, and that's something, I don't know if you want to put this off or how you want to consider that, but that's news. It kind of goes back to something Jim said a couple of meetings back, where he said, in some cases, maybe you can, with relationships and such, you can negotiate rates for these types of investments. So that's it. That is in our finance section, actually talking about those CD rates. So if you want to just hold off.
Hold off and we'll go right in order. Yep.
But Jim, anything about the CD discussion or anything else you want to add, please?
No, other than, preferences are local, and like Wacko Valley and First Federal, and that one other one all had pretty good rates. It's hard to pick right now, because if you look at what's going on, the feds just did their dance again today.
Right.
But, I wouldn't go more than, 30, 48 months, 4 years out. And laddering, which is what everyone has talked about,
right,
I think is appropriate.
Very good. So that's our finance committee report.
Great. All right, we'll jump right into finance.
Okay, terrific. And I'm not going to go through these in as much detail unless you ask me to, but again, we did review this, and the board did, the finance committee did recommend to submit these financials to the full board for approval. But you are seeing a total income of $5,757 for May, and total expenses of $40,534. So a loss for the month of $34,777. We did talk about a lot of the different, some of the categories there, some of which we've shuffled around in order to make it match the budget. You'll see more of that. Second, our cash position, looking at CDs that we have at Orange Bank and Trust Connect One and Empire State Bank, totaling $1 million, 248. And then we have our checking account with Chase, our checking account for the Accelerator right now with Orange Bank and Trust, an account with M&T Bank that I described last month for essentially a closed CD. We were supposed to invest in another one. It didn't happen. They gave us the interest we would have earned because it was their own mistake. And that balance you're seeing there, about 1.6 million, that's a big chunk of what we'll be using a big chunk of that to invest in additional CDs that you're talking about now. We also have a trust escrow with Orange Bank and Trust and our CDs, total CDs, and the Webster Bank, formerly Sterling Money Market, all totaling $9.498 million grand total for the OCIDA cash and equivalents, $11,174,573.
At the committee level, that was recommended to come to the full board for approval as presented. I will accept a motion. If anyone would like to make a motion on that.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Sue. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The May 2022 financial reports passed unanimously. Thank you. I'll go right into payables bill, same type of way.
Okay, so these I will not go through because that's why we're having the finance committee meetings, but we do have three sections, three tranches. First is recurring building services. The total for this month is $4,605 for your consideration. Want to stop there? Or
No,
all three.
You did, you had.
I did contracts. I'm sorry, $30,521.70 is for recurring.
Yep.
For our monthly contracts, it's $4,605. And then all other, and this includes $1.2 million being transferred to set up those CDs, $1,202,250. Those are the three tranches that the finance committee suggests or recommended to the board for approval.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept as presented.
Motion.
Thank you, Dean. I'll second them. Any discussion?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried unanimously. All right.
So next item is the investment options. Not sure if you want to table this, if you want to get into it at all, if you want to make one of the decisions that you were all considering last night. Kelly, do they have that in front of them? Kind of what we'll call a cheat sheet? Thanks. And have what you requested, Mr. Chairman. So handing out right now, something Kelly put together today, which is a summary of our investments. Basically what I just read to you between the two meetings, but with a little more detail, maturity dates and terms and such. Then after that, the pages that follow are really the specifics and some of the background detail. I mentioned that the CD and money market account matrix of rates that I've shared with you. There are in the Excel version, there are notes that we embedded in that so that you can see there's a lot of detail, a lot of kind of fine print. Well, to make it easier, we've taken for the ones that the finance committee was interested in possibly investing in, we have those more information for each of those in this packet. I want to make that a little easier for you to refer to.
Okay.
Basically what you were looking for, essentially, somewhat.
A little bit more, but we'll go over it.
Okay.
What I'll entertain is, since we have a lot of projects in front of us tonight, I'm going to entertain that we table this till the end of the meeting because we have people waiting on the line. Let's go through some of that first, and then we'll revisit this. And we'll have time to maybe get through to some of the other items so they can dismiss some of them if they don't want to stay during that.
Get our guests.
Yeah. So I don't think we need an official motion for that, but we'll hold that in reserve, and we'll go to our new business section and let Bill open that up from that.
Sure. We're going to start with West Warwick One. I'm going to hand it to Sue Katzoff.
So good evening, everyone. On your agendas, you have three projects for various West Warwick matters. I'm going to address them to you initially globally because they all are basically the same, and I'll point out the distinctions as I go. And when it's time to vote on them or open discussion, we'll do them per project. So each one is a request by the company to undertake the construction of a battery storage facility. Warwick I and Warwick II are each located on school district property located at 63 County Highway 1 in Warwick. Obviously, what's important to note about that is that the property as it sits today is currently off the tax rolls, generating no revenue for any of the taxing jurisdictions. The project, if approved, would generate taxes going to the school district. I will note also that these projects, because of the nature of them, do not provide any additional burdens to any of the services provided by any of the municipalities. There's no additional water necessary. There's no additional school busing. There's no additional kids in classrooms. So those types of overheads are not factored in because they don't generate any additional stressors on the infrastructure that is currently existing. The Warwick III project is located at 28 Church Street in Warwick. It is property that is each of them are property that is part of a larger parcel. This project, number 3, takes up about 10,000 square feet of the larger parcel. The larger parcel does have improvements on it, but those continue to pay taxes as they sit because the leased area is only about 10,000 square feet. And the part that they are leasing to build the battery storage is vacant right now. So that will be carved out from the rest of the property, and the pilot, if approved, would cover just that 10,000 square foot footprint. For each of the projects, the developer submitted or the applicant submitted an environmental assessment form, which was reviewed. In each instance, in your packet, you will find a seeker resolution. The EAFs for each project were reviewed, and it was determined that these each were unlisted actions and will not have a negative environmental impact. And therefore, there is a negative declaration attached to each of your seeker resolutions. With respect to each of the projects, they are seeking benefits from the agency in the form of state and local sales and use tax exemptions and pilot agreements, which are exemptions from real property taxes. With respect to West Warwick I, the amount of the state and local sales and use tax exemption being sought is an amount not to exceed $613,407.44. With respect to Warwick II, the amount of the state and local sales and use tax exemption is an amount not to exceed $449,101.90. And with respect to Warwick III, the amount of the state and local sales and use tax exemption would be an amount not to exceed $490,178.24. In each instance, they are seeking a 15-year pilot agreement from the agency. I will note that the 15-year term is consistent with your UTEP. What is not consistent with your UTEP is the way they go about valuing the amount of the pilot that's going to be awarded. And that is because your UTEP as it exists today does not anticipate a battery storage type project. They are relatively new in the state. In analyzing the type of payment that would be due under a pilot agreement, your staff reached out to other industrial development agencies who have undertaken battery storage projects. In each instance, the IDAs have charged a per megawatt rate. That is how they calculate their pilot payments. Keep in mind, this is vacant land, so it's very difficult to assess on an improvement as you would if you were building a commercial project, a building that generates revenue. It's just not analyzed in the same way. So I certainly can turn it over to Bill, who had direct conversations with the other IDAs, but I will say that the per megawatt charge that we're recommending to the board at $1,500 per megawatt is consistent or higher than the other IDAs that have undertaken projects.
That's the same, my same findings. I spoke directly with a couple of CEOs, including up in Hamburg. We looked at New York City, which New York City has a policy where it's very aggressive, $0 for the first in taxes for the first 15 years, and then it's full after that. So they're very aggressive with trying to help reach these energy goals.
So with that, that's the basic outline of each of these projects. Each of the projects would further the state's goals of reaching for clean energy. They each fit within the mission of the IDA because one of your purposes, as outlined in the general municipal law, is to promote renewable energy projects. Each of these projects would satisfy that policy purpose. So with that, I will open it up unless Bill has anything else he wants to add. If the board has any questions, I will note that there are representatives from the company on the call in the event anybody has any specific questions for any of those representatives.
Okay, so board members, what we'll do is we'll ask questions, I think, as a whole, and then if we have specific ones at the time of potential vote on each one, we can go into more specifics. And I think we'll do it one at a time, but we'll do it as a whole to begin with. If you have any questions on the whole, one question that I would have or ask, or just to give us an update on, with 1 and 2 being on school district property, obviously there'll be payments to the school district to rent the property.
Correct.
So that's a new source of revenue.
Absolutely.
I'll even say that's a benefit to the community, being that that's a new source of revenue to a school district who could in turn use that to help their bottom line and potentially help everybody in the community.
I'm sure that's why you saw a support letter today from the Warwick Valley School District Superintendent for Business, because it's a valuable revenue.
And I think
it won't be realized otherwise.
Yeah. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, and I don't have it in front
So
of me.
for West Warwick 1, West Warwick 1, again with the Warwick Valley Central School District, the lease payments are $1.583 million in total.
You want to go over the second and third?
Number 2, West Warwick 2, also to the school district, $1.583 million, the same. And West Warwick 3 does go to a private business, a private individual in Warwick. That's $1.561 million in lease payments, in addition to the taxes that.
And that's over a certain period of time?
Yes, it's at 10, 11, 12 years. It depends upon, there are some options.
Sure. A second question I had as a whole, just for clarifications, on the pilot discussion, this being a quasi-utility type thing, project, the $1,500 per megawatt is per year, correct? Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Per year.
Per year.
When I spoke to in Hamburg, they're paying 1,000. I've seen a few thousand per megawatt. So again, this is the first one for us. We worked hard to try and find some comps, and then basically, we have to go on the assertion from the applicant who's saying that this is what they need to make the project work, and that it won't happen without it.
I probably say that one at $1,500
per megawatt
per megawatt
per year in property
and taxes.
and an accelerator of 2% a year. Dan Spitzer, chime in if we're wrong with anything, please.
No, you're correct. $1,500 per megawatt, increasing 2% a year over the life of the pilot.
Okay.
And the only other question I have is like the term of when this is finished, whatever, they like remove it. It's in the contract. If they are going to remove, they're going to be removed.
That would be in the, I believe, I'll turn to Dan and ask him, that would be a term under the lease with the owner. So either the school district or,
Correct.
right, it's not us.
That's not. Okay.
Dan, the question was, at the end of the lease term with the school district and or the property owner, is it the company's obligation to remove the battery storage facility, or does it remain on the land?
No, it's the company's obligation to remove and restore the properties in all 3 cases.
Thank you.
Those are the questions that I had as a whole, if we had any, but if you have any questions as a whole, now's probably the time to ask either council, Bill, the applicant. And then once we have no more questions as a whole, we'll go into specifics and potentially ask for a vote on each one.
My curiosity is, what is the lifespan of these batteries?
Dan, did you hear the question?
Yeah, you asked about the lifespan of the project. I'm going to turn to Becky. I think she probably has a better able to handle that as the project manager.
Yeah, absolutely. So the typical lifespan of the batteries is 10 years, and part of our process is then after that 10-year period, we would augment the facility and basically switch out the batteries. And we have a lease agreement up to 30 years with each of the landowners, so we could potentially augment the project 3 times to have a 30-year lifespan of the battery project.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, in all fairness, I mentioned the support letter from the school district. I should mention there are 2 other letters from Warwick elected officials, one from Legislator Cheney, who's also a trustee in the village, and Michael Sweeten, supervisor of the town of Warwick. They expressed concern over the incentives. And they were, I don't know if ONR even can speak to this, but they were referencing a substation that was planned to be built there. Then the plans were at least delayed. Frankly, that's not our project. Our project, are these what's before us right here. But that's what they're referencing. There seemed to be some feelings tied to that because of that project didn't come to fruition.
Yes.
No, I'm good. Even the question I had asked really is it what this is. But I was curious. It just popped out of my head. So I'm good with the 3 projects. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Dan, I'll leave it to you. The comments from the town, if you want to address that at all. But I understand with ONR maybe difficulty that you can even talk to that issue. And again, it's separate from this, but.
We're happy to answer any questions. I've been working with IDAs for 28 years. In my experience, I've never had a project where you're looking at reducing taxes potentially because of the payments go to the school mostly, and reducing cost to utility ratepayers because you're substituting private capital for ratepayer supplied capital to the utility. That's why the utility, as they talked about at the public hearing, went through the cost benefit analysis to show that there would be a benefit to the ratepayers. So this is just very unusual in terms of the positives for this type of project.
That, and you would add the reliability factor. I don't know if there's a coefficient or something that you talk about, but there's obviously a reliability factor with having battery backup to a area that is in need of power. So that's also.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Especially, you're fortunate to be in an area of state that's growing. ONR's efforts in putting out this bid are to support that growth and to maintain resiliency of the system. If you read the New York ISO's annual reports, they talked about the tightening in their most recent report. This is the type of activity that the utility and private capital are engaging in that increases resilience at the lowest cost possible and ensures that your growth in business have energy so that they can continue to grow and continue to operate.
Great.
Thanks, Dan.
Any other questions on as a whole?
I have one. Is the sale back of the stored energy exclusive to Orange and Rockland, or would it be available to multiple grid providers such as PSE&G, Con Edison?
I think it's just Orange and Rockland.
Central Hudson. Is it an
the
exclusive buyback contract from the storage of energy just to Orange and Rockland, or is that energy going to be available to other providers?
I'll defer to Becky to make sure I get it correct, but my understanding is the contract for these 3 projects is solely with Orange and Rockland.
Correct.
I think that's
I believe they stated that in the public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. Without any further questions as a whole, we'd like to go into each one. All right, so we'll go into West Warwick 1. And we have the numbers in front of us, the detailed presentation. Any questions specifically about the site-specific West Warwick 1 project?
I have no further questions.
Okay. Without any further questions, I entertain a motion on the West Warwick 1 project.
Wait, we have to do seeker motions. First to approve the seeker resolution.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I thought the secret resolution was approved by the planning board.
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll take a half a step back. In the West Warwick 1 project, I'll entertain a motion for the secret resolution to approve this, or I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion
to approve the secret.
Dr.
Second.
Oda? Thank you.
Any question or any comments or discussion on the secret resolution? Without any further questions, roll call, please. On the secret resolution for West Warwick 1.
Okay. You want to do it? Sure.
Chairman Torelli,
Yes.
Dean Tamburri,
Yes.
Vincent Oda,
Yes.
James Bernali,
Yes.
Susan Walowski. Sorry.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, second part of the first part is the final resolution for West Warwick 1.
May I just say for the
Please.
record? So the resolution that's in your agenda, the final resolutions for each project, what those resolutions do is they authorize you to enter into the necessary lease transactional documents to confer the approved benefits, which would be the sales and use tax exemption for each project and the pilot agreement. That's
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Don't blame me if you repeat it.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion on the final resolution for West Warwick 1.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
Second for Jim. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tamburri.
Yes.
Odoc,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski,
No,
4-1. 4 ayes and 1 nay.
So with 4, it's carried.
Yes.
Correct.
All right.
Motion carries.
We'll go into the second project, West Warwick 2. Any questions in regards specifically? Sorry, Dr. Odak, I don't mean to laugh, but I love that. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's like, yeah. No problem.
Right path.
So on the second project, West Warwick 2, any specific questions or concerns on that before we go into discussions on that or any resolutions? Without that, I'd entertain a motion on the secret resolution for West Warwick 2.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Dr. Odak. I'll second that. Any discussion? Without any further discussion, roll call, please, on the secret resolution.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tamburri,
Yes.
Odoc,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski.
yes,
Okay. Once again, this is a two-part for the second one. A final resolution, as council has stated, we have a resolution that is written that talks about our pilot agreement and the sales and use tax exemption and all the details to enter into. Any discussion on that?
No.
Without any discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dean. Second?
Second.
Jim, second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tamburri,
Yes.
Odoc,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski.
no,
Motion carries.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, open discussion, West Warwick 3. Any discussion topics on West Warwick 3? Any questions, concerns?
No further questions.
With that, I entertain a motion for the secret resolution for West Warwick 3.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dean. I get a second?
Second.
Dr. Odoc. Any further discussion? Without further discussion, roll call, please.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tamburri,
Yes.
Odoc,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski.
yes,
5 ayes. Motion carries.
Okay. Second part of the third project, the final resolution, as we stated, we have a draft final resolution that we would enter into that would describe all the different things that we were going to enter into, including the pilot agreement, sales and use tax exemption, and everything in regards to that. Any questions, concerns?
None.
Without that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dean. Motion to accept, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Or to accept, correct, to accept, yes. Second? Dr. Odoc. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tamburri,
Yes.
Odoc,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski.
no,
4 ayes, 1 nay. Motion carries.
Motion carries. West Warwick, thank you for your patience with us and going through all the public hearings and stuff. I think he may be trying to speak and he may be muted, or I'm not sure.
We couldn't hear you, Dan.
I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Chairman, the members of the board and your staff, the executive director and council on their hard work. I've personally experienced what this IDA has gone through because the Allegheny IDA went through a similar experience in the past. And I know the difficult effort of dealing with new projects, and we've greatly appreciated the way that everybody in the county and on your staff has really handled things. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Take
Thanks for
care.
joining us.
Everyone have a great
Everybody
night.
on that project.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Accelerator subleases for new business.
Yes, you want to carry on with that?
Yes.
So those.
Well, you want to slide that to the end as well? Is that, no? The people are here,
Yeah,
same
that
thing,
makes
it's up
sense.
to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
So if the board's okay, let's, we'll table that one till the end as we have guests that are both online and here. We'll just move them up in the order, okay? Everyone go with that?
That's fine.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be tabled. We'll come back to that. Yep. All right. So next on the agenda, then.
So next on the agenda is Royal Wine Company. We have guests joining us here from the Royal Wine team. It's actually a partnership. The application, there's a joint venture between Royal Wine Company and GFI. They're developers, Massachusetts-based developers. This is all focused on a site on 17M in the village of Goshen. We have representatives here. Connor's not part of the team. Not yet, unless they try and steal him. We have Mr. Sheldon Ginsberg. Yes, sir. Sheldon Ginsberg. Oh, I absolutely. You welcome me. I actually was able to a couple of months ago pay a visit down to their headquarters in Bayonne, New Jersey. Mr. Sheldon Ginsberg, Jackie Bart from GFI, Steve Esposito. Many of us know, a local engineer and consultant representing the team here. Jonathan Gross from Royal Wine Company, and I don't think anyone is joining us online right now. No, but we were welcomed by Mr. Morty Herzog and Nathan Herzog. This is a eighth generation, and the founders escaped the Holocaust and came here. There's great tradition, great, certainly pride within the company. We met many people that have worked there more than 40 years. Very impressive. Of course, the main operation is in Bayonne, Jersey. Many of you know there's a tasting center in Marlborough, actually, so nearby here. And this project would represent a consolidation of that in the village of Goshen location. But without further ado, I'm not going to add any more to that and waste any time. If I could have Mr. Esposito, Steve, you want to start this presentation off?
Actually,
With,
if I may, my assistant has a thumb drive.
Oh, please.
Okay. I'm not certified to touch.
That's true. So I'll take that.
Jackie.
And our camera's kind of projected this way. Yeah, I think I can catch you actually. If you want to kind of stay where you are, if Jackie.
She wants to plug that in. You want to plug that in?
Jackie, sorry. Okay, thanks.
Sure. It does work better if you plug it in.
Well, I thought he was going to bring the camera over there. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be sure. We like it. I personally like you in person. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, how about that?
Nice.
In person. I like it.
Humans.
After 2.5 years, it's a little novel.
Yes.
Yes.
So just bear with me here.
I grew up in Marlborough.
Dennis, if I need.
I live
call on
in
you.
kind of Newburgh now, but I grew up in Marlborough.
Yeah.
Great. So
My dad, yes. My dad had a little garage.
Please.
And
PDFs?
when I was a kid, we used to pump gas and whatever. You guys always had an account for everybody coming through and whatnot.
Start with this one, and then I might ask.
I'm sure you
Back to
did.
another one.
Yes, but we always remember you guys coming in, everybody was.
Way I
nice. Yes, thank you.
Many years ago, my son
Yeah,
worked there.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't mind if you don't.
Okay.
My father had in Middle Hope on IW.
Everybody knew him. I'm like,
He was,
"Really,
well, he used to attend.
It is a small town.
In Middle Hope.
In Middle Hope,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
used to live in Middle Hope.
Either they work there or they work in Mary Jane.
Oh, there used to be a pharmacist when I moved from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Down
Okay,
the pharmacist.
Jackie, that's mine.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
This is where we're
I
starting.
live right over the hill.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna start
Holmes Road, in Carter Avenue.
Oh, we're starting with me, okay.
That was
But I presentation
You
like
know,
that.
when you
Okay.
get.
All right, get the meeting to order and we'll start the presentation.
Am I sharing, Dennis, are you seeing us?
Yeah.
You seeing the,
That's right.
am I sharing my screen properly?
Meeting to order, please.
So I'm just gonna.
It is to this computer, so let me just, so I'm gonna share screen right here. There is no audio to be concerned about, right?
Nope.
Great.
Perfect.
Great.
All right, Jackie Bart, floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you all for having us. My name is Jackie Bart. I am the Director of Public Affairs for GFI Partners. Also happen to be the project manager on this project you're about to hear about. GFI Partners is a full service real estate development company based out of Boston. We were founded in 1997. We have just over 15 million square feet of real estate that we own and operate, largely commercial and industrial real estate, but across all asset classes. We really prioritize and specialize in working directly with communities and municipalities to take underutilized space and make it productive for the community. And we pride ourselves in that. So we're just thrilled to be here because this is actually our first project in Orange County. So thank you for having us. That's just a little overview. And I think the more exciting part of this presentation will be with Shelley and Jonathan from Royal Wine. So I can hand it over to them.
So Shelley, if you want to stand there, I can get you. I just want to make sure on camera for our live stream as well. But that would be just fine.
Is there a clicker for me to?
So I think the best way might just be for me to click for you, Shelley.
That's okay.
Yeah, because I think that's the only way we can do it.
Just you got your
Sure.
right?
Yep.
Well, thank you all for having us this evening. I have hard copies of the presentation as well.
Thank you.
I always found when you hand them out, you go to the last page first. I will hand them out in any event.
Thank you.
And if you could just scroll with me. I think we'll tell the story.
Yeah, no problem.
Wine. I'll tell a little bit about the company and a lot about the project and why it's important to us. So Royal Wine, as we mentioned earlier, is an 8th generation family-owned business. And when I say family-owned business in 8 generations, it is all owned by the Herzog family. It has been from generation 1 to generation 8. It is really an amazing success story after you get after 2 generations or 3 generations. This is 8 generations. And the younger 9th generation, who will be in this facility once we build it, will be running it. So when we plan long-term for the company and we think about the next quarter, we plan for the next quarter century. We don't plan for the next fiscal quarter. Okay, we're not beholden to shareholders. This is family-oriented, family growth. And one of the attributes of the family that I learned when I joined is that they are all in these companies. All funding, all monies, all investments is all family money. It's all money earned, reinvested, reinvested, reinvested. As Jackie mentioned that GFI began in 1997, I have you beat a little bit. The Herzogs came to the United States in 1948, right after the war. And I know that in our application to you, and I won't be redundant, we told the story of the Herzog family, but they came in 1948 penniless, and today are a major force in the kosher wine industry, and clearly in kosher grape juice, which is the bulk of what we will be producing here in Goshen. Right now, we have our facility in Bayonne, New Jersey. This is our headquartered facility. We moved there in 1999. It's 187,000 square feet. In typical family style, when the family moved in, they said, we'll never fill this building. We have to lease this out. Well, 2 years later, they filled the building. And now, if you could read the slide, we're well over capacity. In this building. Jackie, next.
Screwed you up there. Okay, good.
This is some of the processes that we do in Bayonne. This is a small tank farm we have and our bottling facility. The intention is to move all of that here to Goshen. And you'll see in just a moment as I go through our other operations, how the jigsaw puzzle fits together for us so perfectly here in Orange County. Next slide, please. As many of you know and have visited, we're presently up in Marlborough, New York. That's our production facility. We've been there for about 35 years. In that facility, we crush the grapes, we blend the grapes, we store the grapes, we filter them, we get them ready to go into the container that you see, okay? But the containers are not in Marlborough, New York. They're in Bayonne, New Jersey. So every single day, multiple times a day, tanker trucks leave Marlboro, New York, go to Bayonne, New Jersey with the juice, and we have bottling lines there. Not very efficient, doesn't make a lot of economic sense. In this new vision that we'll show you, these operations will be side by side. We also have an operation in southern New Jersey. The town is called Pennsauken, New Jersey. This is one of our warehouse facilities. As we outgrew Bayonne, we needed more storage facility. This facility will be repurposed. It'll most likely close, and this facility will move to Goshen as well. And finally, about 3 years ago, we bought this company called Manischewitz. Some of you may have heard of it. Along with that acquisition came a warehouse in Newark, New Jersey, that at the time we need. The lease there, coincidentally, runs to the summer of 2024, which is the target date for completion of our Goshen project. In 2024, this will close, and these operations will move to Goshen. Always, I like pictures, so to me, it's always nice to see how all the pieces fit together. All of our operations are coming to Goshen. Our bottling operation, our packaging operation, our blending, our crushing, our storing. Pennsauken is coming, Manischewitz is coming. We will have, as this says, manufacturing, production. We will have a tasting room. We will have a tourism center. We will have guests, we will have distribution, all out of this facility. And if history tells us, if history is an indication, we believe that the visitor center will be a very attractive place for people to come, particularly in the summer months. There are a lot of summer camps. If you remember, the products that we manufacture it's kosher grape juice. And there are very many camps and schools and activities that we now entertain in Marlboro, New York, not as efficient as we would like. But with the visitor center we have here, there will also be a catwalk built, a visiting catwalk around the facility. So a consumer could see how we crush the grapes. They could see how we blend the grapes. They could see how we bottle the grapes. Okay, and at the end of the line, if they choose, they could buy the grapes.
Where do your grapes come from?
Mostly upstate New York, the Canandaigua region and northern Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We process between 14 and 16,000 tons per year of grapes. These are New York State Concord grapes. We believe we're the first or second, probably the second largest grape purchaser in New York State. You may be able to guess who number one is. Goshen, New York is a terrific location for us. We love it here. We've been looking for a location for this type of facility probably for 3 or 4 years. Goshen is great. It's logistically perfect. It's near the grapes. It's near my workforce. It's not far from Bayonne. It's economically feasible. My workforce lives here. We'll show you that in just a minute. We love Goshen. Perfect location for us. And this is why we love Goshen. Okay. When companies move from one location to another location, one of the things they worry about is their workforce. How can I continue operations? Where do my workforce, where do they live, will they relocate? We have just the opposite problem. Or it's a benefit, it's not a problem. In my Bayonne facility, we have approximately 40 workers who work in the production side in Bayonne, who all live here. They live in Spring Valley, they live in Muncie, they live in Monroe. They commute 2.5 hours a day to get to Bayonne. This will be a 1 hour round trip for them. We're going to save our workforce 1.5 hours a day, every single day. That's enormous. That's enormous. And a benefit, quite frankly, that not many other companies would have when relocating 60 miles away from where you presently Why is this perfect for us from a business point of view, a supply chain point of view? If we had a lot more time, I'd go through a lot of detail with you, but if you could picture a grape growing on a vine up in Canandaigua, it's picked. It comes down to Marlborough. We crush it, we blend it, we store it. I am under capacity in Marlborough, so I don't have enough storage capacity. That one grape I send out to a third-party storage facility right now in Pleasant Valley, if you know what Pleasant Valley is. When I'm ready to bottle that, it has to go back to Marlborough. This has to be blended and purified. Then it comes down to Bayonne. Then I bottle it, I put it in a case. I don't have room in my Bayonne facility, so I ship it out to be stored somewhere else. Ultimately, a consumer will buy it. How many steps is that? 5, 6, 7 steps were great. This will be side by side. All my operations in one place right next to each other. Perfect, perfect economics for us. We plan ultimately to have over 100 employees in this facility. It'll ramp up over the first 2 or 3 years. As we mentioned earlier, about 14 from Marlborough, 36 from Bayonne, 45 to 50 local workers will be hired. As we continue to grow, that will continue to grow. And then finally, of course, I don't have to tell you the access to the highways and the logistics. I think you'll see this from Steve as well, but this is a schematic of what the building will look like. That's our vision for the building. And as you may know, the tanks that you see on the right-hand side is for future expansion. Initially, the tanks will be inside the building. As our volume continues to grow, we'll have tanks outside. And finally, what will happen is, if you can see in the upper right-hand corner is a circle. We are required by the FDA to label where our products are manufactured. We produce in excess of 10 million bottles of this product a year. They will all say produced in Goshen, New York. Every single one. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm delighted to take them. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More slides to
Sure,
share
okay.
for Steve.
Okay, so let me just get back to that file.
Yeah.
Can I?
First,
Steve's gonna make a presentation.
Yes.
on the local side.
I looked down for a minute and you look totally different.
A couple of years
Yeah.
being in village planning board when this was first
Yeah, we're gonna
coming
start
on.
here. I think I'm just gonna stay here.
How are you gonna handle
still keep it on.
traffic? You know,
Yeah.
Attention that way.
Yeah.
Trucks and employees and tourists.
Give me a minute.
I'm not sharing it yet.
All right, so Steve Esposito, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the project, the site, and then talk a little bit more about, you know, the facility itself, and then ultimately touch on employment and ultimately the benefits that we'll be seeking. So to answer Jim's question, the site is located on 17M, and for those of you who know 17M, we're heading out of the Village of Goshen. It's still entirely in the Village of Goshen. It's right across the street from the Orange County DPW parking lot there. If you're going towards Middletown, it's on the DPW is on your left. We're literally right across the street from it. Our entrance is actually located. We designed it to be consistent with the Pella studies that have been done for the Interstate 86 for 17M. Or 17, and in all of those concepts, actually, this is our second study, all of those concepts all had the Hatfield Lane being expanded and it ultimately be a signalized intersection of 17M and Hatfield Lane. That would then get additional access from 17M to 17. Our driveways align with that to accommodate for future planning. The building itself has a footprint of 550,000 square feet, plus or minus. And then the total build out will be about 626,800 square feet. And as Shelley said, there you go. So there's the site plan. So this right here is the site plan. On the lower part of the page is 17M. To the
right or to the east is Route 17. So we're literally bordered by 17M and 17. It's you can't ask for a better site. And then just for local knowledge, on the north edge of the site is the Heritage Trail. And Shelley and I are both big bikers, so we're going to figure out how we're going to get a bike path connection to the trail.
There's one big biker and one small. That's
right. So again, so this footprint right now is 550,000 square feet plus or minus. We've got 30 loading docks. The crushing operation and scales are to the upper left, upper right of the building. Inside the building is Shelley said, you know, we're going to have the crushing operation will be from Marlboro, the blending, storage. We have a cellar area that's going to store up to, I believe, close to 3 million gallons. Have the capacity at full build that to store about 3 million gallons of juice on the interior cellar. And then there's also a tank farm on the eastern side of the building, which is 12 tanks, 46 feet tall, which will expand their capacity for storage. The application, as you heard, you know, the two main players in this joint venture is GFI, or affiliated GFI, and Royal Wines. It's very complicated because you have the base building, which is approximately an $83 million building with infrastructure that GFI as a landlord is prepared to start construction on. We've gotten our approvals from the Village of Goshen, and we've got a negative declaration under secret from the Village of Goshen, and we've gotten our outside agencies approvals. We have health department. We received health department approval for our water extension. So we're, in terms of approvals, we're in a very good position at this point. The application, and we met with Bill very early on because it is complicated. We have the building component, and then we have the fitting out component, which is also extremely complicated and extremely expensive. So the first phase is what we call first phase, is really the base building with with tenant enhancements. So we've got about $83 million building. We've got about another $22 million in tenant enhancements in phase one, for a total capital investment of about $105 million. The second phase, which is really sort of the tenant fit out phase, which would be primarily Royal Wines, we're right now we're looking at a range of approximately $20 million to $30 million in that second phase, which will come back to the board for once we finalize the numbers, have a little more funding. And then third phase is in working with the village. One of the things that we looked at environmentally is the sanitary discharge from the industrial end of the project. So what we're going to do as part of our secret findings and part of our approval is that we're going to, we anticipate after the first year of operation, we're going to sample and characterize the waste. We'll then determine whether we will or will not have to treat, and if we have to treat, what's the level of treatments that we'll need to meet. And then second year we'll design, and third year we'll construct, and then that'll be online. And that we anticipate somewhere, again, not knowing exactly what it would be, but we're guessing based on just volume of effluent that you're going to be around $2 or $3 million on phase three. And again, that's a total that'll be after occupying the building. Shelley said there's going to, what are the things besides, we've got, it's almost 18,000 square feet of office space. We've got, storage, we've got packing, repacking, we've got cold storage components, freezer components. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the building. A really exciting part is the visitor center and tasting. I think it's free as a local resident. I think it fits right into, our sort of agritourism that we've really developed in Orange County. I think we, the last 5 or 6 years has really come out very strong. So I think that this is, right in step with that. As Shelley said, Royal, they're the second leading manufacturer of grape juice in, the state. and also the second purchaser of grapes in the state of New York. And I think, again, it's just a great, attribute towards their agribusiness in this part of the state, or this region of the state, because they use the Concord grapes and typically they're grown in New York. So part of, we talked about Marlboro. Marlboro, for many of us know already, there's going to be about 14 jobs that will be retained and relocated to the Goshen facility. They're really the crushers, the blenders for that piece of this project. There'll then be also the Bayonne, which is the bottling part of this project. 36 jobs will be retained and relocated to New York, to Orange County, I should say, to Goshen. And then there will be approximately 5 jobs administratively from Newark or Pennsauken, thank you. And then there's going to be at least 45 brand new jobs that are going to be, filled with it from this regional market. So we're pretty excited about that. And again, as Shelley said, I mean, it's really in terms of the daily, and annual sort of operations of Royal Wines, it makes total sense. And it also makes total sense with the environment. I mean, we're going to cut down some tractor trailer trucks for significantly, once we go online. So, I mean, it's economically, it makes sense. I mean, environmentally, we think it makes sense. And then in terms of employment, it makes sense. And also, the total capital investment in the market area. We anticipate, hundreds of construction jobs. We're obligated to meet all requirements that are required to receive benefits in terms of, employment. We've talked about the number of permanent jobs, post-construction. And I think, so what we're looking for in terms of benefits is obviously is a 15-year pilot, for this manufacturing facility. We're looking for sales tax relief and mortgage tax relief. So that's the three benefits that the project applicants are looking for.
And if I may, I'll just jump it in and more specifically define 15-year pilot, sales tax exemption totaling $3,814,423 and a mortgage recording tax exemption on a $69 million mortgage of $517,000. And
this is phase 1. So like of this project. So I mean, it's a substantial project in nature. And, and again, once we said we'll be here for phase 2 and phase 3 as well.
Steve, you want to go over the enhancements for the transportation access? I know there's a bunch of those
that's right,
that you're working on.
Jim's question. So during the process, right, we have to study, everything. We have to study traffic, sewer, water, archaeology, the bats, everybody, bugs and bunnies. So we've done all that. And we're worked with the DOT and our local planning board and their traffic consultants. And we have some pretty significant offsite improvements that we're going to be making that we think provide a real communal benefit to the region. One is that our direct access off of 17M. So we are going to, at the request of the Orange County Department of Public Works, is when they're coming westbound to to make the left into their facility, which is right here. This is their driveway. It's crazy. I mean, during the rush hours, the peak hours, I mean, it's tough to get in and tough to get out. So they asked us, hey, while you're in the neighborhood, would you mind giving us a turn lane? So of course we gave them a left-hand turn lane. So we're gonna have a turn lane, we're gonna have a through lane, and we're gonna have a de-acceleration lane on the right-hand side of the road to turn into the site so we won't impact, the through traffic. Same thing going eastbound. Peak hours, it's a tough spot. So we're also going to provide a left turn lane on the westbound traffic into the site, and then the through lane still heading for the eastbound. So there'll be 2 new turn lanes. We did not meet the warrants for any signalization, but just west of the site is 6.5 Station Road. County Road and Maple Avenue. We are going to completely upgrade that signalization. It's old technology. It's not responsive to the actual traffic demands, you know, or peak demands. So this is really something to be all done by video and computerized. So we think that, and also our consultants, we think, and the DOT thinks that that's also going to help, you know, some of the problems that we are experiencing now currently, you know, along the 17M corridor during peak hours. So those are the offsite improvements that we're proposing.
If you don't mind, can I add something to that? It's important to know a little bit about our business as well to understand the traffic flow. When I mentioned earlier that we crush 14 to 16, 17,000 tons a year of grapes, that happens in a 5 or 6 week period. Grapes are only grown once a year, right? The harvest is in late August, early September. So from that period, that 5 or 6 weeks, there will be more tractor trailers coming in, but that's it, only that during that period of time. Also, based on the historical way we operate our crushing facility and our packaging facility, we do not work on Fridays. We will never, ever work on Saturday. Sundays occasionally, we have busy seasons and that sort of thing, but our primary work day is a longer day, Mondays through Thursdays. That's how we've scheduled this over the past 50 years. So if that just helps you visualize that primarily the weekends, Friday through Sunday, there'll be very light to no traffic from us.
Great. All right, any additional items from the applicant that you want to present?
I'm just going to show some cool pictures.
Oh, cool. We love cool pictures.
Let me go.
We're holding to the cool part now.
That's right.
Other one, right?
Yeah, I think it's that.
Should have been that. Okay.
I'm not the coolest guy.
Sorry, Share.
Will you continue to manufacture Manischewitz products or?
Yeah, let's try that.
We will continue to distribute, yes. Manischewitz products, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe it's on top.
So I can still come back and filter fish.
Yes, you can. Sure. Yes, you can.
Or you could taste.
No, it's okay.
I make my own.
Well, let's start with this one. So this
Is that right?
So yeah, that's fine. So this one is basically what we're looking at here. The different colors represent the office crushing up in here. This is the cellar area we talked about. These are the tanks for interior storage, packaging, pelletizing. And these are cold storage areas, repack here, and then storage facility there. So just to get an idea of the square.
And I'm sorry, if you could picture this facility and this facility today are 80 miles apart. Okay, that's where my tanker trucks come in. Okay, they'll be right. We will pipe the juice from one to another.
And also, this is the catwalk that Shirley mentioned. So the crushing goes in here, and so you'll be able to walk around and look above, the cellars and look above the crushers to be able to see what's going on.
And we know that attracts consumers because we have that in our facility in California. We have a winery in California where we have a very similar catwalk looking over the crushing of grapes, the bottling and the blending. And it's one of the attractions that draw people.
You don't just step on them?
Like Lucy?
If you could bring back Lucy, we can.
And then also, so below that's the floor plan, conceptual floor plan, and then these are just a cross section through the building. Just to let you know, in terms of the Village of Goshen, they've been wonderful to work with. I mean, we were required to get some variances through the zoning board. We were able to get a variance for building height, relief of parking, because the code is a little antiquated. So that really helped us out in terms of footprint and building volume to meet like today's, storage and racking. And so, we have this locally from the village. So Bill, can we get next?
Yep. So Mike.
Go back to the, I think it was before. Yep.
And so this is the going to be the main entrance, and where the umbrellas are. That's the taste. It's going to be a patio outside for the tasting, support the tasting room and tourism. And then to the right is the outside tank farm with 12 tanks to expand their capabilities, storage capability. Right, please.
Is there more? Oh, here we go. Okay, good.
And these are just building elevations. Going to show you kind of what the building is going to look like. You'll see on the upper image to the left of the right-hand side. Has a building height of 46 feet, and then the balance of the building to the left or to the west is the 56-foot piece of the building. We agreed to keep the western side or the side closest to the village down 46 feet, but we're able to go a little higher west.
Great. Okay.
More elevations.
More elevations. So just loading docks. So, and that's it.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the task at hand, board members, is that like an initial presentation, this is an initial presentation of which we would open for discussion, and we could ask questions while they're here. We also have the opportunity to ask questions throughout the process until the part of the final resolution, which would be if we decide to move forward sometime in the future. The idea today is that we'll ask whatever questions we need to feel comfortable with the project. Obviously, re-review the application so you understand all the details. What will happen from that, and I'm not going to speak for Bill, but Bill will work diligently on this to work with real property to come up with a cost-benefit analysis with all the specific little details. I'm sure you may have already started it. And we'll get that, and that'll be part of our determination for the final resolution. So today, what we're looking to do is pretty simple. Ask questions, feel comfortable, think about stuff you may want to receive. We're going to ask for or potentially discuss going to the first phase of this, which would be an initial resolution to authorize a public hearing. This project, being in the village myself, has been public hearing already many times with really no opposition at all. But it's something that we have to do. And Bill will work with council and pick a location local that public hearings will be had. Also, if the timing is allowed, also virtual. So we'll be able to either attend in person or go to it virtually. We'll get that feedback, we'll absorb that, and then we'll have another time for them to come in to discuss with us or to answer any questions, more questions that we may have. And then eventually the process is if we decide to induce to a final resolution. So at this point, I'll open it up to members for any questions, concerns you may have. And then we'll entertain a motion potentially to go to initial resolution for authorize a public hearing. So open it up.
When will you start?
Well, so the we were, our site, as many sites in Orange County, were subject to these little critters called the Indiana bat and the great northern long-eared bat. So we actually did let me back up a step. This was approved this site was approved 3 other times. So the original application, we did some clearing back then. That was actually a project that was going to be eligible for some benefits from the IDA. That was the Kicker Fresh project, which was brewery. Then they pulled the plug on that project, and then another real estate developer came in and purchased it, and we got approval for a 500,000 square foot distribution center. So we did some more clearing, and then we're back again. We got a reapproval for a 626,000 square foot building. So we had to do a little more clearing. So we did that. This all has to be done between November and March. So that was done. So we've already started that. So essentially, we're underway. GFI, they're a real estate developer. Their business is developing real estate. So whether this ultimately comes to fruition from our end with the joint venture, they feel the pressure of having to move forward. Regardless.
So I have questions. Sorry.
Start. Yeah.
So first of all, I think it's fantastic. I think it's great you're coming back to New York. I mean, companies investing in New York. I'm a New York guy, so I don't say I hear all these bad things, but I'm a New York guy. So thank you, GFI for coming to New York. Do you have any other benefits from the state at all for this project? Do you have any other monies from New York State? Okay. And then, so GFI, you're going to own the building, and then, so you're not applying for it. It would be through the Kendall Winery. Is that how that?
Okay, so the structure is such that Royal Wine and GFI formed a partnership.
Gotcha.
You'll see in some of the papers that we've handed out, it's called JV.
Goshen Developer JV is.
Gotcha.
Goshen
LLC, pardon me.
Okay. Which is equally owned by GFI and by Royal Wine.
Gotcha.
Royal Wine will be the sole tenant.
Okay. And you had said that obviously your capacity. Do you think you could expand even further with this facility, or I mean, those your output of juice and wines?
The short answer to that is yes. Phase 2 of this project, as Steve mentioned, is budgeted to be between $20 and $30 million. What we're taking this opportunity to do is to rationalize every single piece of equipment that we own, whether it be in Marlborough or whether it be in Bayonne. And we're going to take that, bring whatever equipment we can that makes sense, but what doesn't, bring state-of-the-art equipment.
Gotcha.
Faster production lines, faster bottling lines, faster pasteurization. So we will be staging ourselves. Again, my long-term planning is the next generation of herbicides, right? So we are planning today for when my volume will increase and be able to do that.
Next question I have is like, they're currently upgrading 17M, right? They're out there working. Is that currently past this, where this facility would be, where they're working now? Is that incorporated, some of these items you talked about, is incorporated?
No,
what they're
so
doing
what
now?
they're doing right now is unfortunately it's just a paving job.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure exactly where it's going to start and where it's starting in Middletown. I'm not sure where it's going to end. It may end right by Jack Perry Ford, bottom of the hill. Hopefully it's going to go to the top of the hill. They may stop and be stopping it there because they know we're going to repave a big section of that area once we do our turnpike.
Next, you had said that there's a obviously closed different times. The visitor center won't be open on the weekends either. That doesn't work that way, or I was just curious.
It would be opened on Sundays.
Okay, the visitors.
On Saturday.
Okay. And then you mentioned a cellar. What is that? Is that
cellar? It's a part of the building? No, it's actually concrete on slab.
Okay.
It's really storage, interior storage.
Well, sorry to be clear, we make the distinction between the production of grape juice and New York State wines. We also produce New York State wines in Bayonne and ultimately in this facility. So a cellar connotation for us is the wine portion of the business as opposed to the grape juice side of the business.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Now the construction phase, are you hiring contractors locally or are you bringing contractors from other counties to do the job? Because again, there's a big difference if you are hiring contractors locally and you're hiring workers or contractors from other, because of the multiplier effect.
So if it's deemed that this project is eligible for benefits in the IDA, there's certain employment requirements that they need to meet. And during construction, it's 80% of new construction jobs have to be filled with from the local market, which is our 5 county.
85%. But who's counting? We're
Who's counting? Bill's counting.
I will say that we've already hired some local subcontractors. Patillo is our site work contractor.
You said Tilcon?
No,
Patillo.
They're
Okay.
site names.
Now, again, do you have a major competitor in this market competing with you?
Competition in the grape juice? I'm sorry.
In this business of wine production, do you have a major competitor?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. We produce all the products we produce, whether they're produced here in New York or we produce them in California, are all kosher wine products. So there were many, many, many wine vineyards and wine production facilities. There were very few kosher wine facilities. With regard to grape juice, which will be the primary product produced here, we believe that Kedem grape juice is the second largest selling grape juice in the United States. The first and the third are also very large. The first is very large. So yes, it's competition to us, but we do cater to a different demographic, right? Because our products are strictly produced to kosher standards.
The first and the third are not kosher, right?
They're not kosher,
No.
correct.
So I have questions. So approximately how many construction jobs do you anticipate for phase one? And how long do you anticipate phase one to last?
We're right now, the number of jobs will vary, during the process, right? But we think that it's going to be, well in the hundreds.
Okay.
Given the facility, and the conclusion of phase one right now is the end of August of 2024.
Okay.
Because that's when the crushing starts.
Okay. And then I guess my other question would be, when the facility is up and running, of the employment that's going to be there, the 100+ employees, how many would have workforce housing take? In Orange County, you're talking about at least a $60,000 a year income to be sustainable in this county. So out of that 100, what do you anticipate to be able to provide for households?
Well, I think if you look at part of the application package we put in, we estimated what the salaries of our employees are. And if I'm remembering offhand, at the lowest level, it was $55,000
Okay.
a year, plus benefits. And on the highest level, it's probably $100,000 plus benefits. And also in the application is we provided you Royal Wine's benefit package, so
Okay.
and it's quite impressive.
So, and I'm just a curiosity, will you be using any robotics in there?
The answer is we're planning for it. It may not be in, I don't want to duplicate terms, it's not in phase one. We're going to move in without robotics.
Okay.
Okay. In 2 years or 4 years, there may be robotics in the facility, but not initially.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions? Any further comments from the applicant? No.
Just to thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Without any further questions from the board, I'll entertain a motion. Anybody would like to make a motion about potentially doing the initial resolution, or any further questions or anything else we need, or any further discussion? Anything from council or from staff?
I think we're good. I will just say thank you to your team for working with my team to finalize the application and get the information. It's been a pleasure, and it's really a fascinating project.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
With that, I'll make a motion to move forward with the project and the process.
Okay, so that would be a motion to move forward with the initial resolution and to schedule a public hearing. And Dr. Odock, second. Any discussion? Roll call, Bill.
Torelli,
Yes.
Camberry,
Yes.
Odock,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walski.
Yes.
Unanimously. Please work with staff. Scheduling the public hearing. I know time is of the essence. Obviously, you want to get as much construction in as soon as possible, but remember that any construction happens before any resolutions are not going to be eligible for anything that we do here and could potentially jeopardize the incentive process. So please be cognizant of that and work directly with staff, and if you need to, with council. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, take care. Thank you soon.
That's a great story.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if we could next dispense with our final guest here,
Yes.
Mr. Doug Sandsted from Chris Warren Healthcare. I won't say much. I'm going to get it to Russ Genzel. Our bond counsel will handle this transaction, or a number of these transactions for Crystal Run Healthcare in the past. I will say that this is basically looking for the board to ratify the prior board's approval of an assignment of OCIDA benefits for Crystal Run Healthcare's location and on Rykowski Lane in the town of Wallkill. Russ, if you don't mind, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Good afternoon or evening, everybody. Just for a little bit about a background, and I think the resolution that you have before you kind of lays out what it was done in the past, going back to 2012, and then through 2017, if I recall correctly, Doug. This is a relatively simple assignment and assumption as a result of a corporate restructuring that CRH is undertaking. And Doug, you can fill in the details, but this is should be a relatively short presentation, I think. And
boring compared to that, because that was so cool. Like I have nothing to do with alcohol or wine, only healthcare. But as Russ was saying, we did a corporate reorg in 2017. We came before the board then. We got an omnibus resolution as we moved the lease back, the pilot, the environmental indemnity, and all the documents from our then professional entity to our management company. And that management company occupies the building at 109 Rykowski, which enjoyed the benefits of a 10-year pilot that has 18 months left on it. At the time, for whatever reason, we didn't put in place the assignment and the assumption agreement. Fast forward to 2022, the other thing we're asking for the board's consent on is under the leaseback arrangement, when our management company, which is the party to the documents, has a change in control, we need the board's consent. So right now, the parent company of the management company is a shell, and that shell is owned indirectly by 133 of the Crystal Run physicians, including Dr. Teitelbaum, and Montefiore Health System. But as we came out of COVID last year, we realized that neither Montefiore nor the physician owners are in a position to fund the future. And just a little bit of background, we've doubled in size in my 11 years here at Crystal Run. And along the road, the IDA was very helpful on 4 different projects. And right now we have around 2,400 employees, 2,000 of them are in Orange County, and a payroll of 240 million, 188 million of that is in Orange County. All of our projects, I think, except this one, the pilots are ended and we're fully on the tax rolls, and we pay property and school tax of $2.3 million per year. But so we fast forward to coming out of COVID, we see a lot of attrition. We need a different owner so that we can capitalize growth and continue to be a premier healthcare provider in Orange, Sullivan, and Rockland counties. So there's a company called Optum, which is an operator of physician groups, and they are gonna purchase the equity of the management company from the current owners. And under the leaseback arrangement, that is considered an assignment. So we're here tonight, as Russ said, for 2 things. One, just to ratify the document we should have put in place in 2017, but we just neglected to do so for no good reason, assigning it from our old professional entity, which doesn't operate anymore, to the management company. And then secondly, to get your consent to allow us to bring in a new well-capitalized owner so we can hire a bunch more doctors and nurses and maybe even a lawyer or 2, but not very many.
Yeah, and just to my obviously fiduciary responsibility is to the board. I don't represent CRH. This does not change any of the underlying benefits or increase the amount of the pilot or sales or mortgage recording tax exemptions. It's simply a corporate restructuring, but under the documents, it requires board approval. And speaking with Bill and his team and Doug and his team, we thought it best to come back to the board just to ratify and approve it going forward.
Great. I know that I'm not sure if the entire board was present at the last transaction, but this was similar to the last transaction that we did with Crystal Run, correct? Down in Monroe, or is it somewhat different?
Monroe, we had built a building through a different entity, but owned by the physician, the 133 physicians. And that building was sold to Hammes Partners, which is a REIT. And Hammes Partners actually, going back a number of years, purchased the Newburgh building from us, and then they've sold it to another REIT. But all of these ownership changes are sort of in the background, sort of ownership of the building, but the operation didn't change with that transaction. None of the operations or management are changing with this transaction. This is a little different than that. That was just about ownership of a building. This is about ownership of the company itself, for whom I work, and many of my colleagues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. All right, so Russ, I'll open it up to the board members, but before I do, I'll just ask you to explain what the process would be, since you're taking lead on this one. What is it that we're being asked of today? And so the board members can better understand it. And what would you be looking from us to do today?
Yeah, so essentially, as Doug alluded to, and what is contained within the four corners of all the leaseback documents is a requirement that the board approve a major change in ownership. So we're simply asking, or CRH is asking for consent for that and the execution of any documents required in connection with that change in ownership. But the underlying benefits and approvals and financial assistance do not change. But again, we thought it would be best, given the new board, to come back and have it be represented.
Okay. All right, so with that, I'll open that up to questions from staff and or board members. If you have any questions, it appears as if we'll be asked for a motion in favor of or not to consent to this ownership change. Not uncommon in the real estate market, especially on the commercial side of things. But any questions in specific about this, some of the items that I think are important is that we're not looking for any additional incentives or anything like that. There's no additional capital investment. So this is not like it's going to spur other things that we have to decide upon. It's still being occupied and operated by the same physicians group and practice.
At the same job levels.
The same job levels. There's 18 months. I think I wrote that down as a little asterisk for me, that there's only 18 months left on the initial, on the incentive package that was originally done for them.
That's correct.
It's a little bit different. This is in the town of Walkill. Walkill has their own IDA, but in this instance, the history proved that the Orange County IDA did it at the time. So that's why it's coming to us and not to them. I think so. That's a little bit different because we probably wouldn't see that moving forward. Type of thing. Yeah, it's a little funky. I don't know. And the question I have is a public hearing necessary for this? I don't think it is because it's not inducing anything. It's just a change of ownership and a consent. But I'll just run that by Russ.
Yeah, Mike, that's a good question. The answer is no. There is no requirement for an additional public hearing because there's no new benefits being conferred. We're simply complying with the contractual obligation that the board approve the change in the corporate structure, if you will.
Okay. All right. So with that, I'll open up. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment. We have a number of buildings, and this is the one that still is within the IDA because we have the lease back. But I had to go through the same process of getting consent from the 5 other buildings, which are owned by REITs. And so it's really the same. Anytime the IDA, like a landlord, wants to know if there's a change in control of the entity that's responsible for complying with the lease and the lease back. So that's, just so you're going through the same thing that the other building owners are doing. You're just going through it as the IDA because of the lease and the lease back, and there's 18 months left on the pilot. It was a 10-year pilot.
And just as a reminder, Mike and the rest of the board and Bill, that, the IDA as a landlord it's a conduit structure where we're simply entitled for the purposes of providing the abatements that were approved. We're not a true landlord or a true tenant. and all the rights and obligations of property ownership fall upon CRH and their various affiliates.
Okay. Open up for board members. Any questions, concerns?
Will they be recasting all of the guarantees that were originally, whatever they were?
So did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Everything stays in place. There's no, the obligor, the credit, as we talk with the other landlords, the credit is staying the same. So the obligor under the documents is staying the same.
Help you answer the question? Not really.
No, no.
You want to restate it?
It seems to be there's more required than just continuing on without, further acknowledgement of what's going on by all of the people involved.
Okay. So I think you want to restate your question, and maybe, I don't know if Russ got to hear the whole thing. So.
Yes, I think I did, Mike, if I may. So no, that's okay. All of the obligations, the rights and the obligations will travel to the S&E, if you will. So it's not as though somebody is off the hook, if you will. So the rights and obligations, and if they don't make a payment under the Pyatt agreement, it's an event of default and the property goes back on the tax rolls.
But there'll be no obligation to recast it, to re-acknowledge all of the pilots and everything that's gone before.
So I don't think we're going to restate it. Is that what you're saying? We're not going to restate it or vote on that again?
Right.
Yeah.
Russ, may I?
Sure, please.
So if I understand the question, and I apologize because I stepped out, but you have a set of documents where there has been, I don't know if the original pilot term was 10 years or 15, but you are, okay, so you're 8.5 years into that benefit. So there's a year and a half to go. So there's been no defaults. They've paid. There's no reason, the IDA has no standing to declare it an event of default because there's been full compliance. When Russ undertakes the documents he's going to do, the new owner is going to have to sign documents saying they step into the shoes of the existing owner, right, and they take all the responsibilities. So if there's a default going forward, that new owner is on the hook. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. And to ask a question that's a little bit different, they are, I don't want to call it a tenant because they're not a tenant, but they are a project in good standing with parish reporting and all that stuff like that. That's something that we would want to make sure, because obviously if someone came in front of us and they haven't been helpful to us, we want to make sure they're complying. But I know Crystal Run and I know that they've complied, but I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Please.
So I'm sorry.
No one.
My question is that I don't think there should be any cost at all to this IDA, whether it's legal, Russ, staff. I think they should have the burden of all the costs for all of it. That's all I have.
Yeah,
I understand it, but
that's a very good point in question, and there will be no cost whatsoever to the IDA.
Great, I'm good.
Now we did charge, however, in the reverse, if I can ask, we did charge a fee the last assignment we did for the hotel project in Newburgh. We charged a fee for that.
Correct. That's not a cost to the IDA. The developer or the project applicant is paying that cost to you, plus all of your legal fees, which would be Russ's time and
I just want to be clear that we would assess a fee on this, because I don't think it's necessarily standard or it's something you decide upon, but I believe it's $2,500 is what we Russ helped us with that one as well, I believe.
So do we have, I guess that's another question, right? So do we have, or should we have in these agreements that if this happens, that there is a fee or not a fee, or that we're just not obligated to? I don't know.
I mean, that's something that we inherited. So I don't know if it's in, it's not the language now, but maybe moving forward.
Okay.
Maybe moving
Yeah,
forward.
no, that's another very good question. And actually it's funny you raise that, because I have other IDA clients that I work with and Sue works with, I'm sure, that, when these assignments come up, it takes up staff time and board time, and, maybe have a policy change that, or something in the application that upon assignment, an X dollar fee has to be paid to the IDA. And it's hard to make it universal, because you may have a small project and you may have a large project like this where it can't be uniform. So just maybe like a reasonable fee. But again, there will be no fees whatsoever charged or to be incurred by the IDA on this.
Okay. And just don't take it against me, because I use Crystal Run, so don't tell anybody I asked this question. I don't want any problems.
And you know, we like to support Russ, you know, so every time we do something, we get to write a check to Russ's firm, and we're very happy.
And I wish it went in my pocket, trust me.
Right, there you go.
All right, any further questions? With that, I'll entertain a motion, either for or against.
Motion to support.
Support, thank you, Sue. I'll second that. Any further discussion?
No.
With that, roll call, Bill.
Torelli?
Yes.
Sambury?
Yes.
Oda?
Yes.
Rinaldi?
Yes.
Walski?
Yes.
5 ayes. Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
So thank you all for your time this evening. And I was on the website of the last presenter while you guys were talking to them. They also have kosher tequila and kosher scotch. So I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna do some ordering.
I don't have a preference. I'll drink kosher, unkosher.
Yeah, me too.
I'm good.
Me too. But thank you all for your time. I'm
Thank
signing
you.
off.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for Crystal.
Right.
And Russ, we have a couple other items. It's up to you if you want to hang on, if you want to leave, we understand as well. Okay, just a couple of
Housekeeping.
housekeeping essential. Up to you.
I'll sign off if that's okay with everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Russ.
Take care, everybody. Good to see you guys.
Great.
All right.
Okay, next, that you tabled leases and CDs.
Yep, let's do leases.
Okay, leases. So again, this is for Warwick Accelerator. We have 3 tenants there: Scripted Fragrance, Farm Body, also known as Body at Rest, and Honey Buzz. Their lease is expired. They want to renew. Plus Scripted Fragrance, I've talked to you about their success. There are 2 additional spaces, kind of a quasi office and a quasi almost conference room. They want to take those spaces. We did talk to other tenants that were interested, but really decided that Scripted Fragrances really makes the most sense because they are growing. They're one of our few Accelerator clients that are meeting all their goals, exceeding them and such. So County Attorney Donna Badura, I want to thank her for her service. Rather than mention it in my report, I will say we had a letter that I shared with the board that there's new administration, new county attorney. It's not an arrangement they want to continue, which we appreciate that they've done it and the support they gave us over the time. So this is Donna Badura's last work for us. But she modified the leases as the Accelerator Committee requested. They're before you, again, 3 renewals and 1 brand new lease.
Great. I think we can vote on them all together.
What do you think, Sue?
You think they can be together, or because they're at one Accelerator, or?
Please.
Okay, vote on them together.
You can just do a motion to vote them all at once.
Yeah,
so
just do them all
So
together.
any discussion on them?
The only thing I want to add is at the Accelerator, you guys, I mean, all the board, everybody has some great things to add to it to make sure that it was clad, some things I didn't think about, what I thought were great ideas. So I'm sure it's all incorporated in there, and I want to thank everybody. There were really, really good things going on that with their experience, everybody with different leases and real estates and whatever. I thought it was very good.
I think
thank you, everybody. It was good.
I think some of the biggest thing was the 30-day out clause that's up by either party without any clause, as well as making sure that the lease termination date does not go past our lease date that we have with them, so we're not extending ourselves into something that we have not approved yet.
And that's a great, another point, Chairman, I mean, that, you know, some of these things that we're looking at, that is being cleaned up moving forward, and that was part of it. So thank you.
One other request from Sue Walski that the security deposit equal the rent payment.
Correct. Yeah, we need to hold on to what they're actually paying.
Yep.
Donna satisfied.
All good stuff.
All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion for all 3 of the renewals and the 1 new lease.
Yes.
For the Warwick Accelerator.
I'm gonna put the motion forward, or second the motion. Did you make the motion?
No, I'm just asking for the motion.
Okay, so I'm going to put forth a motion that we create one motion to accept all 3 leases as 1 vote.
And the new lease?
And the new lease as well into 1 vote instead of it voting individually.
Okay.
This is not a vote to approve. This is a motion
to allow 1 vote to be cast. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
No.
Since this is not specific on a project, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? Yeah.
5 ayes.
5 ayes.
Now we need another motion to approve
The
the
leases
leases
as
for all.
presented.
Yes.
So I'll create a motion to accept the leases as presented by council, all 3 leases and the 1 new lease as presented.
Great. Can we get a second?
Second.
Jim would be next. Any further discussion? Roll call, being leases.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tantori, Oda,
Yes.
Rinaldi,
Yes.
Walsky,
Yes.
5 ayes, motion carries.
All right.
Last item aside from our very brief reports is the CD issue.
All right. So at the finance committee meeting, not to speak for Jim, but we did go and we made a recommendation to the board for consideration to consider a list of potential CDs. As part of that list of potential CDs, we also re-identified that we've already authorized $1.2 million to potentially be invested. Okay, so that was done at the previous board meeting. And at that board meeting, we talked about 3 CDs, but those 3 CDs unfortunately did not get executed. But more importantly, there was a change in rates as well as some more information that came through, as Bill discussed, with the whole Berkshire, Massachusetts, Berkshire, New York, and other stuff. So at the finance committee, we discussed a range. There was a group of potential that we wanted to bring to the board for consideration. So I think with time is of the essence, I think we should review those. And then if we feel comfortable, make a determination on which ones and for how much, so we can give staff a full approval to move forward to make the investments. I know it's late, but I don't think that we could, in our fiduciary responsibility, push it off even further. So Bill, do you have that list that we talked about from the
banks that you were,
the banks and the rates specific that we?
You just gave it to us, right?
Yeah.
Just gave
I
it.
think these are all in that packet. I believe it.
Yeah, she just gave it. I think this is the front cover of it.
Okay, so if we look at that. No, well, so we have what we have on that front cover, okay? We have what we previously approved on that front cover, but we did not execute yet. And then we have what we need to do moving forward. So I don't know if we have what we need to do moving forward. I'm sure it's in this group, but I don't, from memory, I don't remember which ones. I could look at my notes.
In my notes, I was able to get all the bank names, but I wasn't able to get all the terms.
Yeah.
So
No, I think I have.
I think I have them too. So maybe we'll just revisit them real quick. I'll try to say it, but we'll leave it. I mean, if you have the new renewal list.
That was
So-
from last night that we.
Yeah, so I think what we did last night was identified institutions and specific investments to consider at this board meeting. So what I think we did, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Berkshire Bank, the one in New York, the 24-month at 0.75 and the 36-month at 0.5 were under consideration. The Empire State Bank, the 12-month at 1.25, the 25-month at 1.59, and the 36-month at the 1.98.
So far, I'm right on it.
Yep. The Greater Hudson Connect One was 13-month at 1.6.
Yeah.
23-month at 1.9. 34 at 2.25. And then we had some larger ones, a 46 at 2.35 and a 58 at 2.45. I don't think we considered the 46 or the 58.
No, Jim was saying it was.
It was just, yeah, so we only did the first 3 of those, the 13 at 1.6, 23 at 1.9, and 34 at 2.25.
So far, I'm on it.
We also saw a good rate on the shorter term at Lakeland, 18-month at 0.75. And then Wallkill Valley Federal Savings and Loan, we saw the 18-month, I'm sorry, the 24 and 30-month at the 0.6. So those were the options that we are bringing forward to the board from the committee meeting. We wanted to spread it out because we wanted to have options. And with the ask of staff was to do a little more digging to make sure that we're doing it correctly so that we could potentially make a determination today. We didn't, and we know we've already approved 1.2 million, and I think that's what's on the table tonight to consider. We can, at another committee meeting, consider more. I think we're going to always be looking at this. In the past, we decided at the previous board meeting, 3 investments at 400,000. But last night we said we're really not beholden to that because those things weren't, I'll say, consummated. They weren't executed. So some of the ideas were, do we say at maybe the 250 range, the 300 range? So I think we need to figure out range, number of investments, and then specific investments that we want to talk about. So I think everything's on the table with that, but I'll leave it open for discussion. I think we have that to the best part of my knowledge. So open it up to Jim, Sue. I know you guys are directly,
Yeah, we brought one more in that Bill mentioned into the mix that he.
First Federal Savings.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Your rates are.
I can repeat those rates if you want. Yeah, sure.
Is that in here in this packet?
That was
actually,
actually came after I.
And is it on the list?
We prepared that.
Is First Federal on the list?
12-month term, 1%.
Hold on, before you move on. Is First Federal an approved bank?
That's the other item. I don't believe that it's not on this list. It's not on our initial list.
Okay.
We would have to approve that.
Okay.
Would be another vote.
Well, then better be some pretty good rates then.
To add them to the list? Yeah.
No,
so
easy enough.
So right now, they're not an approved institution, but we can approve them if we want. Bill, you want to go over the rate? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just. Yeah, sure, Doctor.
I think we also discussed the limits, no upper limits. I mean, do each of these banks have so much you can put in the savings?
Do we have limits?
Or limits? They have limits, right? So we'll have to find out the limits, man.
That was asked yesterday, frankly. Did not get that answer. I apologize. That was raised.
Limits per institution?
Yeah.
Or is it per investment vehicle?
Per account or per.
Yeah. What we know so far, to answer your question, Doctor, is that we have multiple investments in a same bank, like with Orange Bank and Trust. We have two $250,000 CDs for a total of $500,000. And we also have bank accounts that are well in excess of $1 million, which is also potentially past, I'll say, FDIC insurance limits. So I don't know if there's an actual rule or there's probably a best practice, but it's not, I don't think it's illegal or there's a rule out there. Yeah.
I would say, we already agreed to do the 1.2.
Yeah.
We can at any time move more money, but let's get our ducks in a row to what we've already committed to. So our money's working and not sitting there.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think, I'm sorry, I'm a big time person. I don't think we should drag out a meeting for another 45 minutes to an hour because we want to cover, 6 or 8 different CDs. Let's deal with these 3. Yeah. We have a meeting every month. We can deal with more next month.
Okay, so I like that. I say, so we agree on the monies. Now let's do terms. Let's figure out what terms we have, say X amount for X amount of terms, and then we'll pick, my opinion, then we pick institutions and we're done. So we want to, you had used the word ladder. So we have 6, 9, 24, 18, and then pending 24, 20, and that's in this. So we already have them 24, 24, and 37 for those amounts, correct?
Well, they're expiring.
No, these are the pending, correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
The ones on top are the existing ones.
So we have that. I apologize. We have that in front of us. So why don't Bill give us the new institutions rates?
Sure.
And then we pick.
And pardon me, Mr. Vice Chairman, I will say also, I've just reviewed the investment policy. I don't see any limits specifically on a per institution basis.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Odak. So, and from First Federal Savings, the president there quoted me a 12-month term, 1%, 30-month, 1.5%, and 42 months, 1.75%.
Did you give him the sheet before he quoted? No.
Tell him the stalking horse was.
Okay.
All right. So we need amounts, lending institutions, specifically the months and the rate.
By amounts, you mean what each investment would be?
Yeah.
Whether it's 250,
300, 400, whatever. Yeah. We have 1.2 million in our authorization that was previously authorized. And we can do more, we can do less, we can do whatever, but I think we got to move forward.
Okay. I think Connect One at 24 months at 1.9 for the first. It's up to you guys, but
400.
Connect One.
Where do you see that?
Connect One up top, 1.9.
Greater Hudson Bank Connect One, 23 months at 1.9.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yep.
23.
Killing me, Dean.
What I do?
I'm like, I don't see
How much
24.
on that?
You're right. There isn't 23.
So we have 1.2 out of the 1.2 million. What are we thinking?
400. Let's keep it clean.
Want to agree?
I agree.
All right, we'll make them, we'll do them one at a time if we have to. All right, I'll make a motion to invest $400,000 into Greater Hudson Bank Connect One at the 23-month at 1.9%. I get a second.
Second, I was going to say, I would amend that because
Okay.
rates are changing to say no less than 1.9%.
No less than. Okay.
Okay.
So
Right,
no
so
less
if
than.
it's higher, we could
Yeah.
Right.
take advantage.
So
So yeah,
I'm just-
don't handcuff ourselves.
I think it's a great discussion. Yeah, thanks.
So 23-month at no less than 1.9%. I made the motion. Sue seconded it. Discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carried unanimously. So that's 400K, Connect One, 23-month, 1.9 minimum, at least. Okay. Next one.
There was one on there that was offering 2.
Same thing.
34 months, you get 2.25 at Greater Hudson. You get 1.98 for 36 months at Empire.
So we have nothing out for 36 months. So to me, that would be a good longer term.
That would be the Empire.
Yes.
Empire at 36 months would be 1.98.
Right.
One like that?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to break it up. I mean, because obviously Connect One has a higher rate, but
Yeah. So we're just doing one in Connect One. We already have one in Connect One. We already have one with Empire State Bank. Not that that matters, but 36 months at 1.98,
Mhm.
Empire
No
State Bank?
less than- No less.
No less than 1.98%. Thank you. So you want to make the motion? You good?
I make a motion that we invest $400,000 into Empire State Bank for a certificate of deposit at a rate no less than 1.98% for 36 months.
Great. Can I get a second?
Aye.
Dr. Odak, second. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So that's 2 down. We have 400,000 left. We have a couple of these medium-term ones. I'll highlight one that I asterisked before was the Lakeland 18-month at the 0.75. We also have Walk Hill Valley Federal Savings, the 24 and 36 month at 0.6. So you got 0.75 for 18 months is a little bit better than that.
What's down on the bottom? Oh, that's, I'm sorry.
You have something in a 12 to 15 month range in there?
You have 12, Empire's offering 12 months at 1.25. You have 13 months at 1.6 at Greater Hudson. You have 12 months at 1% for First Federal Savings.
I'd say go with the Greater Hudson, because if you look at what we have coming due next year. You have something in March, and then you have 250 coming through in October. This will give you something midsummer, just in case.
So if that's the case, the 13-month at 1.6, I think was just discussed.
Yes.
So that would be with Connect One.
Again,
We already had 250,000 and a 24-month CD at Connect One. We've already approved a 400,000 at 1.9 with Connect One. So that's
What was Greater
650.
Hudson?
Greater Hudson and Connect One are the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we've said it both ways, but yeah. So Connect One already has 250 in our originals and a new 23-month at no less than 1.9 for 400K. So that's 650 in that one
There's,
bank.
we need to find another supplier.
I think we need to find another. So
I'm gonna suggest First Federal for no less than 1% at 12 months. Then it's higher than even the other one. So,
And I think this will give us some liquidity next year if we need it.
you guys, I mean, 1%.
That's the whole idea. We can't just do all long-term ones. We need to.
Yeah. So we would need to add the institution. So before we can vote on if we're going to do First Federal in Middletown, they're not on our list. We can add them to our list if we vote on them as and lending it as an institution to be eligible.
I shot myself in the foot.
Just make the motion.
Process.
So I have
the motion. I make the
motion to add First
to add
Federal
first.
Middle. What's the official?
First Federal Savings in loan, First Federal Savings of Middletown.
Savings.
Yeah.
First Federal Savings in Middletown.
Make the motion.
Make the motion. Anybody second?
Second.
2 seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor for adding them to our list, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So First Federal is added as a potential lending institution. Now, would you like to make another motion or would you, the 12 months?
Yes, no
No
less than 1% for 12 months, 400,000 to First Federal Savings.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried unanimously. All 3 new investments. I think what we'll do is then the Finance Committee will ask for more specific recommendations, so it's a little bit easier at the board meeting. I'd rather hash that out there than here type of stuff.
We're getting there.
We're getting there, you know, so
Absolutely.
hey, we're definitely getting there.
I'm totally impressed. Anyone cares.
And then the only other thing that on the sheet, I think it's a great sheet, and we know with you can see that. If you just add somewhere in here the percentages.
The rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
the rate.
Not that big deal. That's all.
Yeah, add rate.
That's it. Other than
I
that,
was gonna
it's
say the
great.
same thing. Okay, so that's that. What else did we skip over?
We're on to the chairman's report.
All right, Chairman's report. Very quick and down and dirty. Have not heard from the legislature yet on any new potential members. There's an E&E committee meeting coming up Monday. I don't think the agenda's out yet.
I've not seen the agenda. No.
Sometimes on the agenda, they'll put who they're pushing forward as new board or potential new board members because it gets vetted at committee. I have not seen that yet, nor have I heard any specific names that are moving forward. So to be determined, but that's my update in regards to specifically to board members. Additionally, there are some smaller stuff that we're working on, but I think one of the things that came out of committee, and I think the committee meetings are working well. Unfortunately, it's almost 8 o'clock, but I think that, yeah, we got a lot done. We had a big thing today. But I think what we're going to be able to quantify and realize is the savings of the closings of some of these accelerators, and these payables are going to be coming down tremendously. And I think we'll have a better gauge when we talk about budgeting, which is usually around that October timeframe. We'll have a better gauge because we'll be through the majority of this stuff and we'll be able to do that. Lastly, what was I going to say? I can take Bill's thunder because you attended a bunch of stuff and did a bunch of things. There was one more thing. I'll come back to it. I'll reserve. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to make it brief because of the night. We mentioned the county attorney letter, so Donna will no longer be working with us. Natalie Hempson from Bousquet Holstein will be working with us on real estate related transactions. She's helped us a lot with the New Windsor Accelerator and what it took to extricate ourselves out of that. So you know about that. I continue to try and present and kind of be out there representing the IDA in positive light. I am presenting to legislature at E&E on Monday. I'm hosting the placemaking event held by Vision Hudson Valley this Friday. Happy to explain what that is to anyone that wants to talk about it offline. And I'm presenting to New York State Commercial Association of Realtors on July 6th, which is another good one. We talked about the search for an admin person. We did put an ad out on Indeed today for that. Already getting responses, so I'm going to be lining up interviews, and I'll come back to you to tell you where we are with the selection and get your approval on the expenditure. I did also attend the New York State Economic Development Council's annual meeting out in Cooperstown. It was excellent. I have things I'd like to share, but in the interest of time, I'm going to defer that to next month's meeting if that's okay. But that was great. And there was a virtual meeting, a public meeting for the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council, our region's Empire State Development, kind of council that votes on scoring and recommending incentives for projects. That there are a lot of great things that are in this year's governor's budget for economic development. I've kind of recorded all that. I would like to share that with you as well. But again, I'm going to go to July when I'm expecting it to be a slightly slower, lighter agenda. But all good things. Really thrilled. Looking forward to adding the staff. But great things going on right now.
I just would like to a couple of things. Is that has anybody been on the Zoom? Have we seen? I mean, before I came on, like you were talking about adding people, which reminded me before I came on to the board or whatever, they were talking about maybe putting my name up possibly. I attended some meetings, even though it was Zoom or whatever, to see what have we had anybody? Do we know if there's anybody? Is anybody out there?
Yeah, Dennis, can I ask you?
Curious.
I think the best right now, it's a great question, is probably to look at our YouTube page. And I don't know if that's something in a really quick analysis you could do, Dennis, or right now to
Situation. What's that situation?
the public may not hear our AV consultant, Dennis Brady, speaking to us. So that if you don't hear that, that's the only thing you're missing. But go ahead, Dennis.
Oh, good.
Someone's watching.
Good. Oh, good. Live stream. Thank you.
Someone's paying attention.
Good.
Yeah.
That's fine. Cool. And then the last one was the shovel ready. We talked about that.
Yeah, so we have responses. We're going to bring it before the board, and at the governance meeting on the 29th of this month, we're actually going to deal with our bond council RFP. So we've been sitting on that for a while. We're going to deal with that. Then we'll deal with shovel ready. I'm ready to really get going with that. Anticipating being able to add some admin staff will give us a little extra capacity to take on some of these extra, the extra work that's going to require.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. All right. Any questions from the board? Any questions from staff? Council? Jim?
One other thing. We still have considerable amounts of money in checking accounts. It's got to get out of there. I mean, we're talking about investments, and it's just sitting there zero. If we have a choice on what we do next,
yeah,
why vote to move it out of there?
You're I mean, obviously that's a great observation, I think, but we've done
CDs, but we could also look at money markets as a temporary placeholder. Something is better than nothing.
But, we made a start now, but let's keep it.
Yeah, so we'll bring it up at the next finance committee, and
so finance can handle that and just make a presentation.
Yeah.
And OCFC, again, there was anticipation of money going out for the Heritage Trail project, so that's why there's considerable amount of funds in a money market account for OCFC.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim will pick that up at our next finance in July. Let's address that. Very good. Staff has nothing else, sir.
All right, Council, anything?
I'm good.
Everybody good?
Can I make that famous motion to adjourn?
Please do. All right, motion to adjourn. Anybody in favor, say aye.
Wait, we need a
Oh,
second.
no.
Someone,
No,
Dean
second.
did. I saw him blank.
I did.
I know.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.